What is going on, everybody? My name is Jeff Lightsey Jr. here with the Black Boss Channel and Victor Formation. Thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, and the notification bell because we upload every single day. Now, today, we are going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects, Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, as he did his first interview post-Celebration Bowl. Deion Sanders did his first interview since the Celebration Bowl, and he let his feelings be known about Florida State. So, to give you guys some context of why this is important, the fact that he let his feelings be known about Florida State. Deion Sanders came into prominence as primetime down at Florida State, college football, All-American, Jim Thorpe Award winner, College Football Hall of Famer, Florida State Hall of Famer, etc., etc. He was the man in the 80s at Florida State that catapulted himself into the Hall of Fame NFL career that he obviously had. And so now he becomes a coach. And Florida State's number one recruit, he's the number one recruit in the nation. He's Florida State's best recruit. He's been pledged to Florida State for almost 3 years. For almost 2 years. Almost 2 years, rather. Is Travis Hunter. And instead of going to Florida State, Travis Hunter flips and goes to Jackson State. And he goes to play for who? Coach Prime, Deion Sanders. And obviously, when this happened, many people of the Florida State ilk were pissed. Pissed to say the least, because they thought they had their man, Travis Hunter. They thought he was going to be their next Deion Sanders, their next primetime. But instead of being their next primetime, he's actually going to go play for the real primetime, the real Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, and that is where we are today. And Coach Prime let his feelings be known about Travis Hunter. The first thing that he put out there, and we're going to play some of the audio from the Rich Eisen podcast, which Coach Prime was on Christmas Eve. He was on there on Christmas Eve, and he let it be known. And this is the first thing I want to say. 2, Travis Hunter never belonged to Florida State. Travis Hunter never belonged to Florida State. Let's make sure we put this. Now, I got all my times written down, and I'm going to tell you about it. And he said a lot about this besides just his feelings towards Florida State, but I'm going to play the Florida State clip first, and then we're going to go through some of the other clips that took place during this interview. So the Florida State clip comes in at this time. So this is Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, talking about Florida State, his relationship with Florida State, and, how they used him for a whole lot of years. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Tab audio. And I want to claim fair use. And I'm not going to show much of the Rich Eisen show. You're going to mainly be looking at me. But this is Coach Prime on the Rich Eisen show. Let me go ahead. Actually, I'm not even going to show the screen. I'm not even going to show it because I don't even want to have no problems with that. But let me know if you can. Let me know if you can hear the audio. Please let me know if you can hear the audio. Please let me know if you can hear the audio starting now.
Prime I'll give you the opportunity.
Let me know if you can hear the audio.
The fact that you took Travis Hunter from Florida State, what does that mean? Does it mean something to you?
I don't think. I don't think he never belonged to them. I don't think I took him. I don't think he ever belonged to them.
Okay.
Great
and
job.
I saw the burning of the jerseys in the case. I saw all the foolishness. I laughed my butt off, first of all. But
this is key right here. Listen to this.
And I wasn't going to say this, Rich, but you my guy.
Here we go.
I said on your show. Okay. I think it was either a year before or a year before that is that their head coach, who I'm very fond of, who I think is a great coach, who I think is going to do tremendous feats for my alma mater, called me to help him recruit a kid out of Louisiana. And I FaceTimed the kid, I FaceTimed the mother, and I did my thing. Florida State has been using me for years to do what I do, to help influence these kids to come to the wonderful alma mater. No problem. I did it. I believe the kid signed. So what's the difference of me doing that and doing it for myself? So it was good enough for you, but it's not good enough for me. That's what I have a problem with. So you're saying now, I'm good enough to get you players, but the player or I'm not good enough to get me players. Which one is it? Are we not good enough at Jackson State, or I'm not good enough as a person? I would like that answer.
He's not going to get that answer, guys. He's not going to get that answer. You want to know why? Because he is at Jackson State. He is at an HBCU. He ain't supposed to be recruiting Florida State. He ain't supposed to be going out and getting the best players in the country. He ain't supposed to be doing that. That's just point blank, period. And that is why the Florida State fan base reacted the way they did. Because Deion Sanders to them, and let's be honest, let's keep it a bean, guys. Let's keep it all the way 100. Can we do that? Please let me know in the chat. Please let me know in the comments that we can keep it all the way 100 right now. Right now, I'm going to take a few seconds. I'm going to count to 5 and let me know that we can keep it all the way 100. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's keep it all the way 100. These universities, especially these southern universities, they don't care about these dudes. They care about the revenue that these athletes make them. Just like these pro teams don't care about these guys. They don't care about their well-being. They don't care about what's really going on with them. There might be a select individuals within these programs, whether it's college programs or whatever, but they don't care about Deion Sanders. Florida State cares about what Deion Sanders can do for them. They don't care about what Deion Sanders does with the rest of his life. And the rest of his life right now includes Jackson State. And so the fact that he is taking food off their plate from, in reference, the fact that he's taking recruits out of their backyard, taking recruits from them. Oh, we don't give a damn what you did in the 80s. You made us money back then. Hell, and let Prime tell it, he's still making the money right now, or up until he became the coach of Jackson State, because he was helping them recruit kids. And so what they're saying is Jackson State ain't good enough to be taking players from Florida State. Jackson State ain't good enough as a program, and Deion Sanders ain't good enough as a coach. Deion Sanders is a player all world. But you ain't supposed to be taking players from Florida State. Not just players, and that's the thing. We have to keep it in context. Not just regular players. Guys, Travis Hunter is the #1 player in the country. Travis Hunter has one of the highest scores on 247 as a prospect ever. He has one of the highest scores on 247 Sports as a prospect ever. Like, not just for his class, like ever. He has a .999. It's 9s all across the board. Only thing that's higher is the 100. It's like 99.9999. And so the fact that that guy chose to go to Florida State 2 years ago, he was supposed to be a Florida State Seminole, and Deion took that from him. So whatever Deion accomplished in the past, winning those Jim Thorpe Awards, putting Florida State on the map, let's be honest, nobody gave a damn about Florida State before Deion got there. The guys in Miami, if you guys ever seen the 30 for 30 on the U, the 30 for 30 on the U, the guys in Miami was the it school in Florida. Miami, the U, was the place kids wanted to go to, the place the kids from Florida or wherever. If they came to Florida, they wanted to go to Miami. If you were from Florida, you wanted to go to Miami. You ain't going to damn Florida State. You ain't going to damn Florida State until a dude with a wet jerry curl, but it was dry, showed up on campus and started making all the noise, catching interceptions over Mike Irvin and winning Jim Thorpe Awards and being flashy and cocky and bringing a style, brought a piece of Miami to Florida State and Bobby Bowden. Then that's when guys and girls and enrollment and bowl games and all that stuff happened, when Prime got there. But before that, nobody was checking for Florida State. Nobody was checking for Florida State at all. And they let it be known how they feel about Coach Prime right then and there. The burning of the jerseys, the cursing out him, the cursing out the young high schooler, the pretending like Deion doesn't matter to them, people playing like they don't want to invite him back to games. That let it be known right there. And here's the thing, guys. This is not source. This is not me thinking anything. You know how when Travis Hunter chose to go to Jackson State over Florida State. And the first story, the man hadn't even signed yet, hadn't even committed yet, but the rumors were out there. The first story that came out was, he got the big Barstool deal. He got all his money from Barstool, blah, blah, blah. I have no way of proving this. I have no sources, no nothing like that. But I could bet a nice few dollars that some folks from Florida State put that story out there, because the story that I heard was that Travis had decided to go to Jackson State. Travis informed Florida State that he was flipping to Jackson. And then Travis went and did his thing at his high school with the JSU gear and all that, et cetera, et cetera. And so Florida State had plenty of enough time to leak these fake rumors, these rumors out there that Barstool was giving Travis 1 million, 1.5 million, 2 million, pick your favorite number, because it was a hell of numbers floating out there. And then a lot of people was like, this makes sense. NIL levels the playing field because this number one recruit chose to go to an HBCU instead of Florida State. And then Deion had to come out and rip all of those rumors, tell you all of that shit wasn't true. None of that was true. None of it was true at all. And so that is why he feels the way he feels about Florida State. He's never going to publicly bash them. He's never going to publicly bash them. The most bashing you're going to get out of Coach Prime is what he just did right there. He said, why is it that I was good enough to play at Florida State and Travis was good enough to play at Florida State, but Travis wasn't good enough to come play for us at Jackson State, or I wasn't good enough to coach Travis at Jackson State? He's just going to pose the question that obviously no fan, no administrator, nobody's going to answer. But that's why he posed it. That's the most bashing he's going to get. Because even in that clip that I just played, he still gave love to Mike Norvell, even though he sucks. Let's be honest, he's not very good. He still gave love to Mike Norvell, even though he sucks. He still gave love to his alma mater, that program, even though it sucks. And it sucked for a little bit now. So, and he had a friend, Willie Taggart, who coached there before Norvell, and he wasn't very good there either. So he's not going to bash the program, but he definitely let his feelings be known about Florida State. Well, let's see what some of you guys are saying. Nathan Hall is saying, I just hope Coach Prime understands that getting a player ain't a victory parade. Real test is keeping them. I love Hunter, but that dude gets recruited. No, so this is true. And this is true. And Jackson State has had its fair share with the transfer portal. And I'm going to play some more clips because this interview he did with Rich Eisen was really telling. And you could tell he felt really comfortable with Rich Eisen. So for those of you who don't know the backstory, Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, worked at NFL Network for like 15 years. He worked there forever. And during his time at NFL Network, he worked there with Rich Eisen. Rich Eisen, Adam Schefter, before he went to ESPN, worked at NFL Network. So he felt really, really comfortable. Rich Eisen's staff all worked at NFL Network, so he felt really, really comfortable during this interview, and it's known. Like, you're gonna hear, like, Rich Eisen knew the right questions. Only thing I didn't like is Rich Eisen didn't directly ask him about the Celebration Bowl. So if you're here to listen to Coach Prime talk about the Celebration Bowl, you're not going to hear it because Rich Eisen did not ask him about that ass kicking that they took in the Celebration Bowl, which I was disappointed about, but they're friends, so I get why he did it. And they're genuinely friends, and so that is why this interview went so well, and it was very, very telling. Deion keeps it a buck anyway for the most part, so like that's why this interview he's always going to be a really, really good interview. Bottom line is, if Deion was at Florida State, Bamba, Texas, exactly. It's because of who they lost Travis to. They didn't lose Travis to Texas A&M or to, like you said, Bama. I think he said Bamba, but I think he meant Bama or LSU or Georgia or all these other schools. He lost from Jackson State, albeit the alma mater of the great Walter Payton. But it's still Jackson State. It's still an HBCU. It's not a place a kid like Travis Hunter has chosen, as decorated as he is, since the 60s or the 70s or something. A decorated player coming out of high school hasn't chosen Jackson State since integration. Like a player as decorated as Travis Hunter, we're talking about 5-star, blue chipper, all world, has not chosen a place like Jackson State since integration. That was a long, long time ago. So there is that. What you were saying? Yapa says they are afraid of all the 4- and 5-star black players going to HBCUs. Those schools will lose a ton of money, and the coaches won't look like the super coaches anymore. Who will watch and all? No, this is very true. This is very true, and that is why. What I want black people to understand, though, is that you're not gonna see 10 Travis Hunters every year. Like, Travis Hunter was one. And hopefully we can get another 1 or 2 or 3 next year. But it's going to be, if it happens, and this is not a guarantee that it happens. I want everybody to be very, very clear. Travis Hunter is special. Travis Hunter is special. Period. Period. To get a player out of high school, to ignore all the facilities, to ignore all the, the chance of playing in the college football playoff, to ignore the chance of being seen by a ton of scouts every single week, every single day at practice or whatever, to ignore all of that like tradition and all that money that pours into Alabama and Georgia and Texas A&M, to ignore all of those things and to choose to play for a black coach in a black league at a black school is special. Like, that is not going to happen every single day, every single year. And to be as highly accoladed, decorated, highly ranked of a player as Travis Hunter, that is special. He turned down a whole lot of things and pissed off a whole lot of people by choosing Jackson State over Florida State. I mean, people telling him this is the worst move of his career. He's lighting a fire and putting gasoline on his career before he even gets started. This man's 17 years old. This man's 17, 18 years old. And people are saying he's ruined his career. His career ain't even started yet. It literally hasn't even started yet. This man is still getting report cards. You know what I'm saying? Like, what? Like, his career hasn't started yet. And they're telling him he's ruined it. So what he did is so special. That's why I will continue to uplift him and all of these other highly ranked recruits, highly ranked players that choose to go to not just Jackson State, but Grambling and Mississippi Valley and all of these different Alcorn, Alabama A&M, South Carolina State, Morgan State, Howard, whoever. I'm always going to lift them up because this is special. This isn't an easy decision. You're going against the grain. Everybody else is going left and you're choosing to go right. And you really don't know how it's going to end up. I can tell you how it's going to end up. Travis Hunter's going to be a superstar. But still, you're taking a risk. You're taking a big gamble. And that's why it's so special. Be sure to hit the thumbs up, guys. Thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe. Thank you, Lion Pride, for that. Now, I'm also going to play from you some more things about Deion Sanders, this interview between him and Rich Eisen. I think it's really, really telling. I want you guys to hear about, now we're talking about Travis Hunter, and I want you to hear about Coach Prime's recruiting style. See, recruiting is big. Recruiting, if the gap's going to be closed, it's going to be due to recruiting. Because at the end of the day, you can have the best coach in the world. You can have Nick Saban. Who's your favorite coaches? Nick Saban, Dabo Swinney, Coach Prime, whoever. If they don't got the players, none of that matters. You can be the best coach in the world. If you do not have the players, none of that other stuff matters. It simply doesn't. And so Coach Prime talks about his recruiting style and kind of like his pitch and the way he goes about it. And we know I had Evan Henry on here, and he talked about how he's like, man, Coach Prime didn't really have to recruit me. You know what I'm saying? I was ready to run through a wall for this man off the jump, off the drip. And everybody's not like that. Some people you got to recruit. Some people you have to actually pitch and let them know like why this is the best decision for you. And let's listen to what he had to say about his style of recruiting. Once again, guys, I'm not going to show you a bunch of stuff because I'm not trying to get flagged. I just got monetized. I'm trying to stay that way. So let's see. This is fair use, though. Fair use, by the way. And let's listen to Coach Prime on the Rich Eisen Show about recruiting.
And I would have more wisdom. Tremendous.
So your pitch to the kid does not include NIL at all, or
no,
you're just
because I mean, we can't guarantee that. We can't promise you that. I don't have those type of contacts. Like, hey man, I'm gonna get you this NIL deal. That don't come along with me. What comes along with me is if you ball, not if. I never say if. When you ball, when you do what you need to do, and you show that type of promise, and you clean up the whole external makeup of yourself, and you just clean up your whole game, I'm pretty sure endorsers will want to partner with you. But tell me something, man, and you.
So that's his thing about the NIL. Because remember, guys were like, oh, he paid Travis Hunter. Barstool paid. That's how he got Travis Hunter. Barstool paid him $2 million. Barstool gave him all this money. Barstool. And he's like, yo, G, I I don't tell none of these kids that they're going to get NIL. You got to go out there and hustle. You got to go out there and grind. You got to go out there. Now, you're going to get it. Once you do ball, it's going to come to you. But thinking you going to get that coming just because you come in here? Just because I'm your coach? You can go ahead. If that's a pipe dream you got, you can go ahead and give that, let that ride. Rock that on out of there. Shout out to my guy, Sean Hobson. He says, word, telling Hunter he ruined his career by going and working with the greatest cornerback of all time. That makes no sense at all. Now, a lot of people, I get it. Because a lot of people point to like, just because you're a good football player don't mean you're going to be a good coach. That's true. Some of the best coaches never played the sport or they weren't very good. That's also true. But see, the thing about football, we have to remember, because that a lot of times that applies to basketball. And they can apply to football too. But a lot of times that applies to basketball. And a lot of times that applies when the kid isn't talented. And the kid doesn't, when the kid doesn't want it, they just don't have the work ethic. And two, when the kid or grown man or whoever isn't talented. That's the thing about Travis Hunter, guys. He, one, wants it. He wants it more than most people. And two, he is uber talented. Like I stated earlier, this man was the number one recruit in the entire country. He had a 247 ranking of .99999, like nines across the board. Only 1 point higher is a 100, which is a perfect grade. And there's very few people, only 2 people in the history of 247 have gotten perfect grades. Quinn Ewers, who is the quarterback at Texas right now, and Vince Young. That's it. That's the list. That's the only thing is one notch below that, and that's what Travis Hunter is. And so that is almost guaranteed a can't miss, what we call a can't miss prospect as far as college goes. And I showed in another broadcast, I don't have that graphic up right now, but the history of 247's top ranked number one players. In the history of those guys, say if they had 10 guys, 7 of those guys were first round picks. 7 were first round picks, including Robert Kimdichie, who went to Ole Miss. Trevor Lawrence was the number 1 overall pick. Vince Young, as I said, was a top 3 pick and a national champion. So Travis Hunter, chances are, if you're a betting man, chances are not only is he going to be a star at Jackson State, but the betting odds, 7 out of 10 say it's going to be a first round pick. Like I said, let me take that back. It was actually 6 out of the last 10. Out of 6 of them were first round picks. 2 of them aren't eligible. That's the Quinn Ewers guy who just transferred to Texas and the guy at Clemson. And then there were like 2 that weren't first round picks. But 6 out of 8 qualifiers were first round picks. Now I ain't good at math, but that's a really, really good percentage. So there's that. Like, I mean, folks can talk all they want. Sean says if you talk along with it or make the sound effects while continue. Okay, that's good to know. Thank you for that, Sean, because I am going to, I'm doing the broadcast copyright, hopefully they don't get me, but we'll see. It says HBCU should leave the NCAA. I don't think that's El Hajj, I don't think that's the right move. But it is something to consider. It is definitely something to consider. El Hajj, the reason why, let me put this back up really quick. The reason why I don't think that's the right move, because personally, if I'm just being 100% honest, I haven't said this in a broadcast in a while, but I think the NCAA is going to be dismantled. I think the NCAA as the governing body of college sports, college athletics, is going to be dismantled because of the NIL stuff. Because teams are, what they're claiming Jackson State, or what people were falsely reporting Jackson State did with Travis Hunter, and it wasn't like just YouTubers, guys like me and little bloggers. No, this was like CBS Sports and guys on ESPN and Fox Sports that were coming out saying this $2 million, $1.5 million, $1 million thing from Barstool. So it was like big major networks who were running with this rumor. And that's why my personal thing is just on me. That's why I think Florida State started it, because it were major networks, people on major networks saying that he got paid over $1 million. And that's why I believe Florida State maybe had something to do with it, because he told them that he was going to Jackson State before he told the world, and that's how all the sources and all the stuff gets leaked out. But be sure to hit the thumbs up button, guys. We're in here really heavy. Let's play some more of what Coach Prime had to say about recruiting. Recruiting is big. Recruiting. We're talking recruiting right now. Let me skip ahead to 10. I think this is 10:45. Let me go 10:45. Let me share my screen once again, and we're gonna talk. We're gonna listen to him say his recruiting strategy that I think is very, very. I think this matters. This matters. Let's listen to what he had to say.
Looking like right now, 2-3 years from now, like what?
Well, we recruited up. I don't look.
Let me
Eddie
rewind.
Robinson Award winner for FCS Coach of the Year here the day before Christmas.
So
what's the plan?
That's-
What do you see Jackson State football looking like right now, 2-3 years from now?
It's a good question.
Like what?
Well, we recruited up.
Recruited
I
up.
don't look through 2-3 years from now, Rich. I take care of present.
Yep.
Because if I don't, I'll miss the moment.
I like that.
We recruited up at every position that we needed to recruit up at. And we had some guys that weren't eligible last year that were better than the guys that were on the field this past season. And I can't wait.
I do. Now, hold on. Pause. Now, for those of you watching, he said we have some guys on our team that wasn't eligible last year that are better than the guys that were on the field this past year. Now, I've looked at the Jackson State roster quite a few times. I don't know who these guys are. Please, someone tell me if you're in the chat in the comments, who are the guys that didn't play last year that are better than the guys that played? Because I don't know that wasn't eligible. I don't know who they are. I when he said that, that kind of stunned me because I honestly have no idea who he's talking about. So let's keep listening.
See them. We recruited some guys. I have 40-40-20.
This is big.
Formula. 40% grad transfers, 40% in the portal, 20% high school.
I think that's interesting. That's interesting to think about. 40-40-20. He gets 40% grad transfer, 40% in the portal, and 20% high schoolers. So this tells you how Coach Prime is building his team. He's building 40-40-20, and that lets me know that there's going to be some big-time transfers coming to Jackson State this season. Like, we know Travis Hunter was the big dog as far as the high schooler, but he's probably going to be one of only a few high schoolers actually that comes into this 2022 recruiting class. Now, that's a different approach than we see kind of like Hugh Jackson doing over at Grambling. He's getting a whole bunch of high schoolers. I talked to one today, and Tyson Bordeaux. Tyson Bordeaux is a high schooler. He got like 4 high schoolers to commit on Christmas Day alone. So the 40-40-20 is definitely one. Now, Aaron Sanders says Davis is the one that didn't play. Davis, I'm not so sure who Davis is. I don't know, but Aubrey Miller was a grad transfer. He played. Niles Gaddy, Shiloh, like all these guys are transfers from different schools and they all played. I'm not so sure who's left on the roster from last year that didn't play, but if somebody can inform me, please let me know, because I think that is very, very interesting, the fact that he said that. Now let's continue listening. The 40-40-20, so that lets me know some big-time transfer is on the way. I don't know who it is, but he keeps peeking at, talking about somebody that's going to be big, and I just wonder who that transfer is going to be. But let's keep listening.
And what we recruited is phenomenal. We recruited up at every position that we needed help in. So I look for a better team. I look for a team that's smarter, tougher, a little faster, a lot more physical, although we led the nation in sacks. And we're the top in FCS in defense. But we got to get the offensive line together and get that offense going. And I'm addressing that right now.
Well, I think
He's got to get that offensive line together. I love the fact, because come on, man. I mean, Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles, whoever your favorite blind person is, everybody saw that offensive line was a mess. I mean, South Carolina State, and not just them. Like, there were other players throughout the SWAC that dominated Jackson State's offensive line. Southern gave them problems. Prairie View gave them problems at times. Mississippi Valley State gave them problems. And then Southern just blew it out the water. Like, South Carolina State. South Carolina State gave them problems. Like, yeah. Oh, so Q Davis, the wide receiver from, okay. Well, they don't really need help at wide receiver, though. They're losing the guy from Williams, the guy from Bama, the transfer from Bama, or Lanier. They're losing Lanier. They're losing Newman. They're losing Lanier and Newman. But they're bringing in Travis Hunter, who's going to play some receiver. For the guys who don't think Travis Hunter is going to play any receiver on Jackson State, you're mistaken. He's going to play some receiver. They're bringing in some other guys. So I don't know. But that I forgot about him. I didn't know if he was still on the roster because he didn't play. And then obviously you got Malachi Wideman back. You got Rucker back. You got Keith Corbin back. They're stacked at receivers. I don't really need a whole bunch of help left at receiver. And whatever help they do need, Travis Hunter will fill. But that comment about the 40-40-20 is huge because that gives us a peek into Coach Prime's recruiting strategy. Now, I knew that he went the grad transfer / portal guys a lot because I just thought it was try to make the rebuild faster. That's how you kind of expedite a rebuild, by going out and getting all these kids in this portal, especially those coming from Power 5 conferences who were highly ranked out of high school, who's got some playing time at the Tennessees like Malachi Wideman, or at the Missouris like Aubrey Miller, or at the South Carolina like Shiloh Sanders. But I didn't know that was like his recruiting strategy just moving forward. I guess he figures, hey, there's a ton of kids out there in the portal that are really, really talented and just haven't gotten a chance to play for whatever reason. So that is interesting to hear his inside on recruiting. But that offensive line is the number one priority this offseason, because you can have the Deion Sanders at quarterback, you can have the Travis Hunters at corner and receiver, you can have the Malachi Widemans or whoever. If Deion Sanders is running around for his life and throwing the way he was throwing in the Celebration Bowl, it don't matter. It don't matter all these top recruits. Them dudes at South Carolina State got after Shedeur. And that is going to be the plan for everybody in the SWAC this upcoming season. The reason why Shedeur was under so much duress in the Celebration Bowl as opposed to the SWAC conference games is that the SWAC guys just didn't have pass rushers, multiple pass rushers like South Carolina State. Like, they would see a good pass rusher. First of all, Jackson State offense wasn't very good all year. Like, they had one good game, Alabama A&M. But the rest of the season, they were just kind of, they were teetering on mediocre. But when you go against, when you have a teetering, mediocre style offense, and you go against real pass rushers like they had over there, them dogs at South Carolina State, that is what you get. Those are the results you get. Now, I want you guys to listen to him about scheduling. See, a lot of people, let me look at some of the comments. I had to look up Davis's highlights. The dude's crazy. Yeah, so I'll definitely have to look up Davis. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, guys. We're in here really, really heavy. Now, I want you guys to listen to Coach Prime talk about scheduling. Now, obviously, with the addition of Travis Hunter, there's going to be additional TV cameras, because whenever the number one high school recruit chooses an HBCU and he's as talented as Travis Hunter, people all across this country are going to want to see him play football. So there's going to be added exposure. And Rich Eisen asked Prime about scheduling. And that is important, because a lot of people feel like, who watched the Celebration Bowl, a lot of people feel like the Celebration Bowl went the way it went is because of the lack of teams that Jackson State played this year as far as their schedule went. Now let's listen to what he had to say about scheduling. Let me share this once again, and let's tap into Coach Prime.
Basically want to go play some big time, if you will, blue blood college football programs. Certainly, you're stationed right there in the SEC country.
He is.
I mean, is that the goal, where you just want to, as you say?
That's not the goal right now. The goal is to dominate where you are, not win, but to dominate where you are. Then you look forward down the line to scheduling some of those games. Right now. So listen. So you guys know, for those of you who've been following along with Coach Prime, he hates the fact that SWAC teams take those give me money games, those games where they go like South Carolina State. Now, even though they're not in the SWAC, South Carolina State played Clemson this year. Clemson gives them $750,000 to $1 million to come and beat their brains in. And Coach Prime's like, no, we're not there yet. We're not there to be able to compete with those guys quite yet. So therefore, we're not going to schedule those guys quite yet. We need to dominate who we play in front of us first. Now, those games are financially beat down. That's what I call them, and that's what some HBCUs choose to do. I'm going to go to these various schools, and I'm going to get my butt kicked, but I'm going to walk out of there with $750,000 or $1 million. That's not worth it to me. To me, that's the ultimate sellout to children. So now, here's where I disagree with him a bit. I do not believe that that's a sellout. That is not a sellout in my eyes. This is where I think Deion, being new to HBCU, like the stratosphere and what's taking place, and forgetting that certain things only apply to him. Let's be quite honest. Travis Hunter wasn't going to another HBCU. He went to Jackson State. He wasn't even going to Jackson State if it wasn't for Deion. What he wrote was really, really nice, and it made a lot of sense, and I loved every single thing about it. But if Coach Prime was the coach
at Florida State, he'd have been going to Florida State. He wouldn't have been going to Jackson State. As much as he wants to put the spotlight and all that stuff, those rules only apply to Coach Prime, to Deion Sanders. And so for him to say, I don't like those are sellout games, I don't think so, because these universities need that money. Let me repeat that again. These universities need that money. Everybody don't got deals from Pepsi and Under Armour and Gillette and Barstool, etc., pouring Michael Strahan and pouring into their programs. That's reserved for one man and one man only. I'm not saying that it can't happen to these other programs, but as of right now, that is only reserved for Jackson State. And so if you can get $750,000, $800,000, $900,000, $950,000, $1 million to go play that game, I don't see a problem with taking it. I get why he doesn't take those and why he wouldn't take those, but I don't see a problem with a Prairie View playing Texas A&M or South Carolina State playing Clemson this year. I don't see a problem with that at all.
I'm going to pay. I know I'm not going to win.
So yeah,
but you're going to kick my butt. I'm going to lose 3 to 4 players to injury, and you're going to humiliate my team. I'm going to build them back up next week to play again. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like if I know I have a team, Rich, that the interior line.
This is big right here.
As well as a nice rotation and substitution can withstand that, I'll do it. Because I know the skill positions, they're already suitable. They can do it. But where the difference lies is the offense and defensive lines. That's where there's the difference.
It's true. It's a huge difference. There's a huge difference. There's a huge difference. There's a huge difference in the trenches play. I've seen skilled guys at the SWAC level, at the HBCU level. Hell, you've seen them. They're in the league right now. The Tariq Cohens of the world and guys like that. Like they can play. It's that trenches play that's a lot of bit different at some of those SEC schools. That trenches play is critical. That trenches play is a game changer. It is definitely different. This is a really good question Rich asked him next, because Rich asked him next about changing jobs. He asked him about, leaving Jackson State. Here's what Coach Prime had to say.
Because you must get it all the time anyway, so I'll just jump in. Because the idea is that if you can't get that at Jackson State, then you'll go someplace where you can.
There it is.
Where do you?
Rich, I don't. Honestly, my man, I'm not even. I don't lie to you. I cry to you before I lie to you. I'm not looking to tomorrow. I don't do that right now, because I promise you, I focus on today. I focus on the now. I focus on maximizing the moment and giving these kids all I have today. Now, when tomorrow comes, I'll concern myself about that tomorrow. But I don't look down there. That's why we've been so successful.
That's big. So he doesn't look towards tomorrow. He's only focusing on the day. I think that's critical when you're recruiting these kids, because the first thing that everybody's going to ask, especially if you some of these higher ranked players, is, are you leaving? Are you leaving, coach? Like, you ain't gonna sell me all the cookies to come down here and then leave me, are you? And that is what, he has a good response. It's like, man, I'm not looking towards that. I'm looking towards dominating with you. I'm looking towards making things happen with you. I'm thinking towards winning a bunch of ball games with you and with this team.
We really focus and dominate today and in the moment.
I know I've had a front row seat to him.
Yeah, so that is awesome. And one thing he also said during this interview, be sure to hit the thumbs up button, guys. We're in a really, really heavy like, share, subscribe. One thing he also says in that interview, and it probably was coming up, I just stopped it, was the fact that he looks at coaching, and this is really, really cool, especially hearing this from an all-time great, a Hall of Fame player like Deion Sanders. He looks at coaching the same way he looked at playing. And so what he means by that is, when he was a player, he was one of the greatest players to ever play, like top 50 football player, maybe top 20, top 15. He's one of the greatest to ever do it, barring any position. Probably the greatest athlete ever, because he was he's a World Series playing baseball player, by the way. Like he batted like 500 in the World Series while also scoring touchdowns on Sundays. And the man was nasty. But he wants to dominate the coaching sphere just like he dominated on the field. That's big because I've never heard, well, one, a bunch of coaches can't say that because most coaches didn't play, at least didn't play at a very, very high level. But he wants to dominate. And we know how dominant Deion was on the football field. We're talking about gold jackets. We're talking about red jackets as far as the top 150 college players ever. Gold jackets, Pro Football Hall of Famer, one of the 100 greatest NFL players ever. And he dominated out there. Like, there's not many consensus. There is one consensus in football for sure. There's not many in pro football, but there's one consensus. When you say who was the greatest defensive back in the history of the NFL, there's only one answer. There's not two or three or no debates. There's one answer. That is Deion Sanders, prime time. And now he is saying he wants to dominate the coaching realm the same way he dominated and became the greatest defensive back and arguably the greatest athlete to ever walk this planet. To me, that is huge because the only way that you can establish, and this is why it's huge to me, the only way that you can establish yourself as being dominant like you were as a player, like to his level of expectation as a player, is going to take years. This is not something that's overnight. This is not something that you establish with one or even two or three Celebration Bowls. Not only must you win those, because he said winning for him isn't good enough. He must dominate. What we saw in this year's Celebration Bowl, not only did he not win, but they got dominated. Like, they got their ass handed to them. Like, South Carolina State came out there and put the pounding on Jackson State. And so he has a lot to fine tune. And while that's taking place, the SWAC is getting better. I don't know if you guys seen Hugh Jackson down at Grambling. He's making a lot of noise. Coach Dancy over there in Mississippi Valley, he's making a ton of noise. Don't ever sleep on Alcorn or Alabama A&M. They're making some moves. And the SWAC is getting better. See, there's two major problems with not just the SWAC, but HBCU football, I think, that are fixable, that I'm watching taking place. One is the trenches play. Guys have to be better in the trenches, and this is why I say this. And this is no disrespect to James Houston, because James Houston had an amazing season. But James Houston was a solid linebacker at Florida. He was a solid reserve linebacker at the Power 5 level. He was decent. He was solid, a pretty good player. He came to the SWAC and became one of the most dominant pass rushers in the entire league. Now, that's not to say he couldn't have been a really good pass rusher at the SEC, but if he was as dominant as he was as a pass rusher for Jackson State at Florida, he would have never left. I'm just being honest. Like, let's keep it a bean right now. He was a dominant pass rusher, like so much so he probably is going to get himself drafted because of the way he played. Now, he's a little undersized as a pass rusher, but he was dominant at the Jackson State level. And if he's able to go to the combine or go to this NFLPA Bowl or somewhere and really show that he can play, he is going to get drafted. The trenches play has to get better because a guy like James Houston came in and immediately dominated the tackles and the guards and the offensive linemen in the SWAC. Obviously, he wasn't doing that at Florida. Another thing that HBCUs lack, that they suffer from, I see it getting better, but it still is a problem, is the quarterback play. There's too many run-first quarterbacks, run first, pass second, as opposed to passing first and having running second or being able to run. There's a difference between a runner who can throw occasionally and a guy who can actually throw, like who can actually throw and can beat you with his legs. The Kyler Murray prototypes, the Lamar Jackson prototypes. These are guys, Lamar might have even been a run first quarterback, but he was better at passing than all of these guys in the SWAC. Most of these guys in the SWAC or in HBCU football period are run-first quarterbacks. The quarterback play has to evolve because the college football game's evolving. The pro football game's evolving. You have to, but regardless, at the end of the day, your quarterback has to be a better passer than runner if you want to have success or if you want to make it to the next level. And we see it at Jackson State. Shedeur is definitely a pass first. We see some guys turn. Aquil Glass was a pass first guy at Alabama A&M. They recruited, but a bunch of teams across the SWAC, I don't got to say their names, or across HBCU football, you guys know, are run-first guys. They're better at running the ball than they are throwing the ball. And once that gets cleaned up, I think we'll see a better product on the field for the SWAC teams. I want to read some of your comments, and then I'm going to get out of here. It says, Coach got him coming through the portal next year. We'll be serious. Yes, he does have some guys coming through the portal, and there's one recruit. His name is, I'm going to show you guys this. His name is Shamar Stewart. Now, Shamar Stewart is, let me show you his recruiting profile. He's a 5-star defensive end out of Florida. He is a 5-star defensive end out of Florida. Now, everybody and their mom thought Shamar Stewart is going to go, thinks Shamar Stewart is going to go to Texas A&M. He's already indicated he's not signing until February. 5-star. He's the number 1 player in the state of Florida. He's the number 9 player nationally. He's the number 2 or 3 defensive lineman in the country. His scheduled February 2nd. Keep that date in mind, guys. February 2nd. He's out of Opa-locka, Florida. You know Coach Prime loves his guys from Florida. He's a Florida boy himself. But his commitment is February 2nd. That is one to look out for. Why is Shamar Stewart someone you guys should look out for? Because Shamar Stewart on National Signing Day, let me make that, I hope you guys were able to see all of that. Shamar Stewart on National Signing Day said he was about to sign to Florida State. At least he indicated that he was. And he said, he tweeted this out right when you were about to sign your NIL or National Letter of Intent to a Power 5 PWI, and you get a call from Deion Sanders. It's just something to think about. Shamar Stewart. He's 6'6", 270 pounds. And as you see on the far right, all the crystal balls have him going to Texas A&M. But all the crystal balls also had Travis Hunter going to, also had him going to Florida State, the number 1 player in the state of Florida. How fitting would that be? And they only have Jackson State on his recruiting profile. That's how crazy this is. But February 2nd, I could be back on here, guys, talking about Coach Prime did it again, snagged a 5-star from the teeth of a Power 5 program in the SEC. Shamar Stewart is one to think about. That's all I have to say. Shamar Stewart. It says, Coach Prime turned around JSU in less than a year. I'm excited for what happens next fall. We are witnessing the brilliance of Deion Sanders. He's making history right before our eyes. William, you're absolutely right. You are absolutely right, because Coach Prime, one thing he did, he forced the other schools, not only in the SWAC, but the other HBCU programs, to step up their game. They had to step it up. Shout out to Ashley Robinson, the AD over at Jackson State. But they are forcing other schools, not only in the SWAC, but other HBCUs across the country, to step up their game. There's no longer an acceptance of mediocrity, and I love that for Jackson State. Not only Jackson State, but I love that for the rest of the SWAC. Aaron says, man, Prairie View haven't made one move yet. Prairie View is an interesting job to watch. You guys, so Prairie View has a head coaching vacancy right now, and there have been a ton of noise with Ray Lewis's name around that Prairie View job. Now, obviously, this is just noise. That's all it is noise. But Ray Lewis is a name to watch. Remember, Marshall Faulk was a name that made some noise when it came to the Southern job, when Southern had an opening, but that never came to fruition. But keep your eyes peeled for Ray Lewis and what that could potentially how that could potentially take place. Rod says, when JSU stack a few classes, they'll be top 5 FCS easily and will beat some lower level FBS teams. I think so too. I think that's possible. I think by the time Shador is a junior or senior, that could be something that'll take place. But they got to go out there and do it though. Like they have to, like all of this recruiting stuff sounds good. All this recruiting stuff is amazing. But guys got to put the pads on and don't sleep. Like do not sleep on the rest of the SWAC. Like the other SWAC ain't just sitting here, twiddling their thumbs while Deion Sanders and Jackson State getting all the players. Like I said, Hugh Jackson over at Gremlin had 5 commitments on Christmas Day. Now, he's building his program just from the start anyway, a little bit different than the way Deion Sanders did his. Deion hit the portal really, really hard, brought in a few high school guys like Rucker and Shador, of course, but all the impact guys for Jackson State were either holdovers like Keontae Hampton and Warren Newman, or portal guys. Isaiah Bolden, portal. Tony Gray, portal, left tackle. The receivers, the whole entire receiving core besides the whole entire receiving core, Malachi Wideman, Keith Corbin, all those guys were portal guys. Lanier, they were all portal. So he built his from the portal. Looks like from the beginning, Hugh might hit a few high schoolers. So we'll see what is taking place with that. But do not sleep on the rest of the SWAC. The rest of the SWAC is going to be like they ain't just sitting around waiting for Deion Sanders to get all the players. Like they're getting their own players as well. Coach Prime turned around. Let's see, I think we read that already. I think you should watch Keontae Hampton interview by a JSU student. Hampton said with the smile on his face, but if you think Travis Hunter's the only 5-star, that Shamar Stewart could be that other 5-star he's talking about. Shamar Stewart. People think he's Texas A&M bound, but I've heard that he really likes what he sees down at Jackson State. That commitment date, February 2nd, is one to remember for the Jackson State fans at home. Shamar Stewart commits on February 2nd. I'm pretty sure that is National Signing Day. We'll see if he chooses a JSU or if he'll head over to Texas A&M like most people think he will. I think he won't only get 5 stars. Zach Evans. So for those of you who don't know, Zach Evans is a running back out of TCU. Now remember, Deion Sanders' name was linked to TCU, and when the rumors came out that Deion was interviewing for the TCU job, Zach Evans, who was their 5-star running back, one of their highest ranked recruits ever, tweeted, "I want Deion Sanders." So Zach Evans, he's in the portal right now. That is a name to watch out. So shout out to Trucking with Tony. Zach Evans is a name that could be on the JSU roster. And that's a place where they need to upgrade. Like, let's keep it a bean. JSU needs to upgrade the running back position. Santi Marshall's cool, but he's small, and he was a former walk-on. He's just really, really small. Santi Marshall's cool. I really like J.D. Martin, but they don't play him a lot. They don't give him a lot of carries. They didn't give him a lot of burn. J.D. Martin, and then Pickett. Pickett's nice, but he's a bruiser. He's a big back. I think they need some more speed and power at that running back position. Pickett gives you a lot of power, but they need more of that explosive speed from a guy that's a little bit bigger than Santi Marshall. That's just my thing. We read that one. But the SWAC has gotten loaded with 3- and 4-star talent. Yes, that's another reason why the Travis Hunter signing was so big, because we've seen a ton of players, like they were ranked 3 stars or 4 stars, transfer to the SWAC. And that's why I said Travis Hunter, we got to give this young man his flowers and really uphold him. But transfer to the SWAC. Travis Hunter chose the SWAC right out of high school, and we hadn't seen a player of his caliber with his accolades, with his ranking, do that since integration. So shout out to Travis Hunter choosing to go to a SWAC school right out of high school. Graham is also recruiting. A&M's class is nasty. A&M, they're trying, but they're going to have to replace their quarterback. They're going to have to replace Aquil Glass, but they have Quincy Casey, who I think Quincy Casey is going to win the job. They also brought in Jaron Williams, who's been to a few different schools. He started off at Miami. He was a 4-star out of high school, went to Miami, went to JUCO, then he went to South Florida, got that extra year eligibility because of COVID, and now he's at Alabama A&M, and he could win the job. I really like Quincy Casey. I think Quincy Casey is a star in the making in the SWAC. I think Quincy Casey is one of those guys that can really throw the ball. Remember, I was just talking about how a lot of these SWAC quarterbacks are run-first guys, then throw. Quincy Casey is a throw-first guy. He's got some moves, but we saw him at Jackson State. Quincy Casey made some noise in the spring ball, and he can really throw the ball. He's a lefty. He's a ball player. I really think Quincy Casey is going to win that job over Jaron Williams. I've seen Jaron Williams play before. I'm not impressed. I'm just being honest. He was a 4-star. I'm not impressed. I think Quincy Casey should absolutely win that job over Jaron Williams, but I guess they'll go and play it out. It's just they got to get and beat teams like North Dakota State, Missouri State, and James Madison. See, the problem with playing those teams, here's the problem with playing those teams for Jackson State. There's a couple problems. One is that those teams are established in FCS, and you would have to travel there. And I don't know about y'all, but I would not be a fan of traveling to North Dakota or wherever the hell James Madison is or wherever the hell Missouri State is. Your fan base is not going to travel to those games. ESPN is not going to pick up those games. There's no benefit to that. Like, there's absolutely no benefit to that. You're not going to play in the FCS playoff, so I don't see any benefit to that at all. Like, at all. And two, you might lose. Like, those teams are very well established. At least North Dakota State is. I can't really, and James Madison is. They're very established. Jackson State isn't established yet. Like, I think we forget, a lot of people forget that Deion Sanders was hired. He was hired in September of last year. His high school season ended in December of last year, but he didn't report to Jackson, Mississippi until January. So we're literally within a calendar year of his rebuild of Jackson State. They just happen to have a ton of success very, very early. But this is still very much a rebuild. Like this is still a rebuild. Like, I get it. They went undefeated in the SWAC, but those teams, as far as those high-level FCS teams, are established. They ain't rebuilding. They reloaded. And Jackson State rebuild just like that. But with the fact that you got to travel there more than likely, and you actually might lose, I don't see any benefit. If you're going to lose to somebody, hell, lose to a SWAC team before you go out there and lose to freaking North Dakota State. Like, that's just my personal thing. They need to move the SWAC championship game. So here's the thing. So Jake Down makes a point, and a lot of people ask about this. Why does the Celebration Bowl take place during the FCS playoffs? I explained this in another video, but I'm explaining it again. The FCS playoffs, how it works is not like the college football playoff or even like some of these bowl games you see or any of these that stuff. The FCS playoffs, one, the schools get very, very little monetary value from playing in those games. You don't make a bunch of money playing in those games. Like, you just don't. Like, and then because, like I said, Jackson State plays in the SWAC, if they go to the FCS playoffs, you have to cover your own hotel. You have to cover your travel fee. You have to, all expenses are paid for by the school. So you don't make any money, and then you spend a ton of money. So that is why the commissioner of the MEAC was like, man, to hell with the FCS playoffs. Let's create the Celebration Bowl. And it took him, like he said, 10 years to get guys from the SWAC and guys from his conference, the MEAC, to finally come together, and they had their first Celebration Bowl, 6-7 years ago now. And so that is why the Celebration Bowl, all expenses are covered. You get paid to play in the game. You play in front of 50,000 people that look like you. And you get money from the game. Expenses are paid for. Delta sent the plane to get both teams, both from Orangeburg and from Jackson. They sent the planes to send them into Atlanta. And it's an experience. It's a real bowl experience. 3-4 days full of bowl activities. You hang out at the Coca-Cola factory. You do all kinds of cool stuff with hella media attention. That is way better than traveling day of to North Dakota to potentially lose in a garbage SCS playoff nobody watches anyway. When you got 2.5, almost 3 million people watching the Celebration Bowl. It wasn't 2.5, 3 million people watching any of those games of the SCS playoff. Let's just be honest. And all those teams had to pay to get there. So the Celebration Bowl is the way to go. But I understand why some people might not understand all of those intricacies they go into making the Celebration Bowl happen. Now, it says camera will be all over Hunter, but don't forget Mr. Superstar 5-star kicker Trey Glimpf. He will be a very famous fast. Everybody's waiting for a kicker down to Jackson State. But let's not give the title to Trey Glimpf just yet, because I saw where Jackson State had a kicker commit the other day via the transfer portal. So there will be a kicking competition. Trey Glimpf is the favorite to win the kicking competition from people that follow Jackson State recruiting. Don't get me wrong, he is definitely the favorite, but there will be a kicking competition, and hopefully Jackson State won't have those same kicking problems that they had this past season. Quincy Casey, so someone says Quincy Casey's in the portal. I don't know about that. I have not seen that, but he was in the portal from Jackson State and went to Alabama A&M. But I didn't know if he's in the portal. Coach Prime just stated on Rich Eisen that they're building a Power 5 program in the SWAC. He also said everything they do molded after Power 5 program. He also mixed in the NFL concept as well. Absolutely, because and what a lot of people don't understand, because I'm sure most of you by now have seen that clip of Deion Sanders talk about all the coaching that he did. All the coaching that he did before he became the head coach of Jackson State. And part of that coaching was coaching the All-Star game, the Under Armour All-American game. Deion Sanders was a coach, and why is that important? Because he had been in contact at the Under Armour All-American game every single year. A bunch of scouts a bunch of recruiters, a bunch of NFL personnel, and college football personnel. So Deion Sanders has been a part of college football programs and know what the top facilities look like at the college programs, know what they're telling these kids because he coached them. He coached the best players in the country every single year for 10 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, so he gets all of that. And then obviously he played in the NFL. He worked for the NFL Network. He did all of these things. So he understands what it takes not only to be a great college player, but to also go on, move on, and get to the league and excel when you're at the NFL level. He also understands what a top-notch college football program and their facilities is supposed to look like. And that is why in one calendar year, Jackson State's facilities did a complete 180. Their jerseys, complete 180. Everything about the program, complete 180. And that's why Deion Sanders is the right hire. You still want to Prime's right. Get the team. Yeah, so yeah, Coach Prime, we went through his interview with Rich Eisen. For those who came in late, I'm Jeff Lightsey Jr. This is my YouTube channel. You can subscribe to it in the Black Boss channel. Hit the thumbs up button. But we went over Coach Prime's interview with Rich Eisen. And in that, it was very, very telling. He lets us know that he has no plans on leaving Jackson State. He told us his true feelings about Florida State. I mean, those Florida State, let's be honest, there's a lot of sprinkled a little pixie dust of racism in there because they just feel like Travis Hunter wasn't supposed to be going to HBCU, wasn't supposed to be going to play for no Deion Sanders. Instead, he's supposed to go to garbage Norvell and garbage Florida State program. They ain't been no good since Jimbo been there. But that is what it is. Jackson State will be completely fine. Jackson State is the team that's going to have a ton of cameras, not just because their coach is Deion Sanders, but now because they have the number one player. But don't sleep on the rest of the SWAC. I've got SWAC players coming on this program right here very, very soon. We'll also have my boy Kari Thompson coming back because I want to hear from Kari. He is the beat writer for the Jackson State football team. I need to hear from Kari about what happened in that Celebration Bowl, and maybe he can give us an insight about who are some of these 5 stars that Coach Prime and the rest of the Jackson State faithful keep talking about. So thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, like, share, and subscribe to my channel, Jeff Lightsey Jr. That is Jeff Lightsey Jr. Thank you guys for joining me for another great broadcast. I hope to see you next time. Peace.